Man, I'm really looking forward to this fight. This is a great fight. I'm glad Damon Blackshear, jumping in on short notice here, is getting this main card shine. And he's taking on kind of the first guy from Team O'Malley, Team MMA Lab, to kick it off on this card in Mario Bautista. Batista, he's been a longtime teammate of Sean O'Malley, and he's an impressive prospect in his own right. In the UFC, he's 6-2. He's won 4 fights in a row. And he hasn't just been winning, he's been running through guys. His last 3 fights, he's ended all of them in the first round. And he's in a huge spot here. This is his first time fighting on a pay-per-view main card. He was expecting to fight former UFC champion Cody Garbrandt, which would have been a huge win for him. But Garbrandt had to withdraw, and now he's fighting Damon Blackshear. And he can't afford a letdown spot because I think he's fighting a lesser-known name, but a harder opponent in Damon Blackshear. Damon Blackshear, I mean, he's proven he's about that life, man. I mean, the guy's taking on his second opponent in 7 days. And we just watched Blackshear become the 3rd man to hit a twister in the UFC on Saturday. Now he's going to become the first man to fight twice in 7 days for the UFC in the modern era. He's going to join Lupe Godinez as the only 2 fighters to achieve that. And he's on a 2-fight win streak. He had, the close loss to Farid Basharat, and then he had a decision that went to a draw with Yusuf Zalal. So I think he's definitely a live underdog in this fight. I see a lot of people totally discounting him, talking about he's on short notice. Like, man, he's not on short notice. Like, come on now, guys. Like, he does have 2 weight cuts. That's something you have to be, a little bit aware of. But the guy's not going to get out of shape. He just fought 7 days ago for 3 minutes. The guy's still going to be sharp. He just had a training camp. So I'm not buying all that BS like, oh, he's on short notice. He's going to be sharp as ever. It's just, will the 2 weight cuts in 7 days affect him? Or will he be able to, do that and still compete to his optimum level, or at least the same level that we saw him fight at last week? I don't think it's going to be like, oh, he's gassing out because he didn't have a training camp. I mean, like, man, the guy just had a training camp. So I don't think that's really an issue. And, man, when you look at Damon Blackshear, the guy's underrated. He's a black belt. He has nice speed on the feet. He's going to be significantly faster with his hands, in my opinion, than Bautista. Mario Bautista is a guy that I've actually done really well, betting and predicting his fights, making some money on him, and I feel like I have a good read on his style. And on the feet, he is very athletic, mobile, and he's going to be the bigger, longer guy. And he doesn't really have the best, kind of like his offense isn't as good as Blackshear. Like, it's not as high volume. It doesn't come as often, but he's one of these guys that he fights and blitzes. Like, he's moves around on the outside, then you'll blitz in with the body head punch combination that has a lot of kind of sting to it. Then you'll come in with a flying knee or some big kicks, and he's a dynamic guy that's gunning for putting damage on you. And then once you start to slow down and wear down, you'll start to get in your face more and make it kind of an ugly fight. Uses cardio and really start to take you out if it's more of a striking battle. But, you look at his fights like with guys like Jay Perrin, and that was a competitive fight. And we saw Jay Perrin kind of get exposed in the UFC. We've seen him get knocked out by Trevin Jones. So even though he's on this 4-fight win streak and a lot of people want to announce him as like the next up-and-coming guy, the guys that he's been beating, these guys are probably not UFC level. Like, Damon Blackshear has been fighting way better opponents, and I think he's a significant step up from, like, these Guido Canettis, these Benito Lopez that didn't fight for, like, 4 years. Like, all these guys that Brian Kelleher, who had a lot of major injuries, like, these guys Batista is beating recently have not been cream of the crop fighters, man. So I think Blackshear is extremely live. Like, on the feet, I feel like he's going to be significantly faster with the hands. And if he could pressure and not let Bautista have that room to explode in with those wild strikes, I think he can get the better of the striking exchanges on the feet. And I feel like in terms of the wrestling, I think Blackshear could take Bautista down. I mean, we saw Jay Perrin take him down, and no one really can control Bautista, and Bautista thrives when he can get on top and use his size, and he can get a lot of finishes. He's very aggressive from that top position, and his wrestling is decent, but I feel like he's going to struggle to take down Blackshear too. I mean, he may be able to control him against the fence, and if Blackshear does start to get tired and Bautista can get on top of him, we've seen Blackshear show some deficiencies from that bottom position and get held down. But I feel like Blackshear, the line should be closer, man. I think Blackshear is a very live underdog. His cardio's on point. I think he has the better grappling, the better wrestling. He's the smaller guy. Maybe the wrestling is on Bautista's side, but I think it's very competitive. And cardio-wise, I think both these guys have good enough cardio. I think they kind of both slow down a little bit, but I think it's going to be kind of equal in that aspect. So I just feel like Blackshear is the better fighter, man. I think he's going to show that. I think a lot of people are kind of gassed up off some of Bautista's recent victories, but I think that it's going to be kind of shown that he was beating a low level of opponent, and now that he's stepping out fighting a guy like Blackshear, or I think could potentially get ranked. He's younger. He's young and getting better. I think that unless that weight cut really affects him, I see him getting the job done here by being the better boxer, the faster hands, pressuring forward, maybe getting a takedown or two, and just being the little bit more active guy over 15 minutes here. I like the over as well. I think that Bautista's, made a lot of headlines with the finishes recently, so maybe they'll open the over-under 1.5 at a plus money. And if they do that, I think that would be a very good bet as well. But give me Damon Blackshear here via decision to pull the upset, get 2 wins in 7 days, and kind of show that he may be a future top 15 fighter in the bantamweight weight class.